Most people believe anger is power. They believe raising their voice makes them strong, that reacting proves they cannot be disrespected. But the truth is far more humiliating. Every time someone makes you angry, they have just gained remote control over your nervous system. One insult, and your heart rate spikes. One sarcastic comment, and your mind starts racing. One disrespectful look, and suddenly, your entire emotional state belongs to someone else. Think about what that means. It means anyone, a stranger, a co-worker, an idiot on the internet, can walk into your life, press a few psychological buttons, and instantly control your biology, your thoughts, your focus, your peace. And most people never realize they are being manipulated because anger feels righteous, it feels justified. But neurologically, anger is not dominance, it is surrender. The moment you react emotionally, the primitive part of your brain hijacks your intelligence, turning you from a strategist into a predictable animal. And predictable animals are easy to control. But there is a way out of this trap, a psychological architecture that allows certain individuals to remain completely untouched by insult, manipulation, or provocation. Once you understand it, something strange happens. The insults stop working, the manipulation collapses. And the people trying to provoke you begin revealing far more about themselves than they ever intended. Because true power is not the ability to destroy someone with anger. True power is the ability to feel absolutely nothing at all. Phase 1, the trap of the trigger. Most people believe anger happens because someone crossed a line. Someone disrespected them, someone insulted them, someone said something unfair, so the reaction feels justified, necessary, even honorable. But if you look closely, anger rarely begins with the insult itself. It begins with the ego. Anger is the ego's emergency alarm. It rings the moment your identity feels threatened, when someone questions your competence, your intelligence, your worth. The mind rushes to defend the image you carry of yourself. That image feels like you, but in reality it is only a fragile projection. And insults are designed to test how fragile it is. An insult is not a weapon, it is an invitation. History provides a perfect example. In the court of Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor once exploded in rage at his foreign minister, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand. Napoleon shouted, insulted him publicly, and accused him of betrayal and incompetence. The entire court watched. Talleyrand did not argue. He did not defend himself. He simply stood there, calm, still, almost bored. When Napoleon finally stormed out of the room in fury, Talleyrand turned to the stunned onlookers and quietly remarked, "What a pity that so great a man should be so ill-bred." In that moment, something fascinating happened. The emperor looked small, and the silent observer looked powerful, because anger reveals something dangerous about the person who expresses it. The moment you react emotionally, the primitive center of your brain, the amygdala, overrides the rational part responsible for strategy, logic, and restraint. Your intelligence narrows, your judgment weakens, you become predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Those who understand psychology know this very well. They provoke you not because they hate you, but because they want to see if they can make you dance. If a cheap insult can alter your heart rate, raise your voice, and hijack your attention, then the person delivering it has discovered something valuable. They have found your button, and once someone knows where your button is, they can press it whenever they want. The first step toward emotional sovereignty is brutally simple. Stop offering people that button. Phase 2, the sovereign gap. To understand how to remove that button, you must first understand one of the most powerful discoveries ever made about human psychology. The discovery came from a man who endured circumstances far worse than everyday insults or arguments. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, witnessed the darkest extremes of human suffering. He lost his family, his career, and nearly his life. Yet even inside that brutal environment, he discovered something extraordinary about the human mind. He realized that between what happens to you and how you respond, there exists a space, a small gap, and inside that gap lies your freedom. Most people never notice this space. An insult appears and instantly a reaction follows. Anger, defensiveness, retaliation. The stimulus and the response collapse into a single reflex, like a knee-jerking when struck by a hammer. But the people who possess real composure do something different. They stretch the gap. Instead of reacting immediately, they observe. Imagine a doctor examining a patient. When a patient coughs violently or vomits, the doctor does not become angry at the symptom. The doctor studies it. The symptom is simply information. Human behavior works the same way. When someone lashes out at you, insults you, or attempts to provoke you, they are revealing something about their own internal state, their insecurity, their frustration, their emotional instability. What you are witnessing is not an attack from strength. It is a symptom. This perspective was also practiced by the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Despite ruling the most powerful empire of his time, he constantly reminded himself that irritating people were simply part of human nature. Just as sparks fly upward from a fire, flawed behavior rises naturally from flawed minds. When you understand this, something changes inside you. Instead of feeling personally attacked, you begin observing human behavior the way a scientist observes a phenomenon. The insult becomes data, the aggression becomes information, and suddenly the emotional charge disappears. You are no longer participating in the conflict. You are studying it. The person attempting to provoke you believes they are pulling you into their storm, but instead they find themselves standing alone, shouting at a mountain that refuses to move, and that quiet refusal is the beginning of real power. Phase 3. The pathology of offense. Most anger begins with a hidden assumption, the assumption that other people should behave the way you expect them to behave. They should be respectful, they should be rational, they should recognize your intentions and treat you fairly. But reality does not operate according to your expectations, and the moment you demand that it should, frustration begins. Stoic philosophy describes this through a simple framework known as the trichotomy of control, explained by philosopher William B. Irvine. Life can be divided into 3 categories: things you control completely, things you control partially, and things you do not control at all. Your thoughts, your actions, and your character fall into the first category. Other people's opinions, moods, and behaviors fall into the last. Yet anger almost always appears when these boundaries are ignored. You become offended because someone spoke carelessly. You become enraged because someone behaved foolishly. But in doing so, you are demanding control over something that was never yours. And when reality refuses to obey that demand, anger is born. One of the most striking examples of this discipline came from the Roman statesman Cato the Younger. Cato was famous for his iron self-control and uncompromising principles. His political enemies despised him. One day, while walking through the Roman Forum, a rival approached him and spit directly in his face. The crowd gasped. Most men would have reacted instantly, with violence, outrage, or humiliation. Cato did none of those things. He calmly wiped his face and said, "I will swear to anyone that people are wrong to say you cannot use your mouth." Then he continued walking. Another time he was struck during an argument. Later, the attacker came trembling to apologize. Cato simply looked at him and said, "I do not remember being hit." This was not weakness. It was psychological dominance, because to acknowledge the insult would be to grant the attacker significance. Cato refused to give his enemies that power. And that is the hidden truth about offense. Offense is not something that happens to you. It is something you agree to participate in. When you say, "You made me angry," you are confessing that someone else has authority over your emotional state. You are admitting that your inner world can be altered by the careless behavior of others. But the strongest individuals operate differently. They recognize that anger is simply energy, and energy is too valuable to waste on people who do not deserve it. Phase 4. The physiological deflation. Understanding the psychology of anger is powerful, but there is another layer most people ignore, the biological layer, because anger is not just an idea. It is a physical reaction inside the nervous system. The moment you perceive a threat or insult, the brain activates an ancient survival mechanism. The amygdala signals the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus floods the body with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, your vision narrows. In primitive environments, this response prepared humans to fight predators or escape danger. But in modern life, the threat is rarely a predator. It is a rude co-worker, an aggressive driver, a stranger on the internet. Yet the body reacts as if survival itself is at stake. And once that chemical storm begins, logic alone cannot stop it. You must influence the body directly. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman highlights a powerful biological mechanism called the physiological sigh. It is one of the fastest ways to deactivate the stress response. The technique is simple. 2 sharp inhales through the nose, filling the lungs completely, followed by 1 long, slow exhale through the mouth. This pattern rapidly removes excess carbon dioxide from the bloodstream and signals the nervous system to calm down. Your heart rate begins to slow, your muscles loosen, your brain regains access to rational thought. What makes this technique powerful is that it can be done silently, even while someone is speaking to you. While they escalate emotionally, you do the opposite. Your breathing slows, your posture relaxes, your expression becomes neutral, and this contrast sends a powerful subconscious message. In the animal kingdom, the prey panics. The predator remains calm. When someone attempts to provoke you and you remain physically relaxed, their brain instinctively registers the imbalance. They feel their own agitation reflected back at them, and without realizing it, they begin losing the psychological battle they were trying to start. The storm they brought finds no resistance, only a mountain that refuses to move. But understanding the trigger and even controlling your biology is only the beginning. Because the most dangerous manipulators don't rely on anger alone. They rely on something far more subtle, psychological traps that make you react without even realizing it. In part 2, we uncover the deeper mechanisms of emotional control, the economy of provocation, projective identification, and the final weapon that makes manipulation completely powerless. If you want to become truly untouchable, continue to part 2.